Okay, welcome everyone. We're here today with another incredible and very important interview with Barbara Loe Fisher, who's the founder of the National Vaccine Information Center. This interview is crucial. You need to listen to it. Not only do you need to listen to this, but I hardly ever say this, I am encouraging, pleading with you to pass this information on to everyone you know. There is information out here that we did not know before that is going to make a massive difference. We actually have a new website too, which is swineflu.mercola.com that you can send them to, and there'll be a link here. I'm warning you, this is a critical information, people. There are people's lives at risk here. There appears to be a massive amount of misinformation and outright deception going on that we're going to prove to you with the U.S. government's own statistics. And it appears that the purpose of this is to panic the American people into believing that this swine flu is far more serious and widespread than it actually is. So the intention of this is to review the swine flu pandemic emergency that President Obama issued over the weekend. And we've got so much information to share. We're going to share a lot more about this, but it really brings up an incredible amount of facts that need to be reviewed and shared with the entire public. And I can guarantee you the traditional media is not going to share this information. So we're relying on you to spread the word. So with that introduction, Barb, why don't we start what the major concerns are with this declaration that occurred over the weekend?
Well, the major concern is that the CDC has not been tracking the H1N1 virus activity in this country as of August 30th. They stopped confirming the cases of hospitalizations and deaths that they were H1N1 related. And this information is on the CDC website. And I think that most journalists, most of the American people, when they see certainly the President of the United States talking about the fact that we continue to be operating under a national public health emergency, that there is widespread H1N1 swine flu out there and people are dying, they believe that it to be true. And they believe that the CDC has the backup to prove that this is a widespread pandemic and that there are people dying from H1N1. And if you go onto the CDC's own website, you see that they admit that these cases of influenza-like illness, what looks like influenza, that these cases are not being confirmed as H1N1 most of the time. And I think it's shocking, really, that we have been that there has been the amount of money that's been committed to this campaign, and that they're not being totally honest with the American people about what they know, because they're not looking. If you don't look, you won't find, and you won't have to be responsible for the truth. And so I think that people really are going to have to, when they see a news report talking about we're in a terrible situation here, and everybody's got to line up and get the swine flu shot, they better check their facts.
That's absolutely the case. The concern here is that there was a fear that was being generated by President Obama's announcement that 1,000 people died. But the central question is, have 1,000 people died from H1N1? It does not appear to be the case. There are no substantiation or any support for factual data on the CDC's own website. In fact, we have quite evidence to the contrary. As you mentioned, as of August 30th, they clearly changed the entire way they are classifying H1N1 disease. They are not requiring or demanding that they use serological confirmation. They are giving clinical parameters. And based on the CBS investigation that took 3 months that we just released on our last issue, if you haven't seen that, I encourage you to do that. It's really groundbreaking information that was completely ignored by the rest of the media. But they showed that in most states, anyone with these flu-type symptoms, the ones that were tested, about 2% of the people were actually infected with H1N1. 2%. 98% either had the flu, or more likely 80% of them had another flu-like illness, either the cold or something like that, that was replicating the condition or resembling the condition. So it's just on the CDC site, they have a table that shows there were 414 deaths that occurred from influenza, not H1N1. They were very clear about that, from influenza, and there's a double asterisk. And if you read the double asterisk, these are deaths that occurred from August 30th to October 17th. All of these 400 deaths, none of them were serologically assessed, and if they were, it was just through a screening time. They were not screened for H1N1.
That's right. The exact wording is, laboratory confirmation includes any positive influenza test, whether or not typing was done. Therefore, those were influenza. It was influenza confirmed, but not H1N1 particularly confirmed. And, that makes a huge difference. There's nowhere on the CDC website that lists the number 1,000 that was referred to by President Obama. This is very confusing for people who go in and try to confirm this information that was released with great fanfare on Saturday. When you look at the hospitalizations that they list, they have two categories, influenza and pneumonia syndrome. And they have 21,823 hospitalizations and deaths, 2,416. Again, influenza and pneumonia syndrome. And it says that reports can be based on syndromic, admission, or discharge data, or a combination of data elements that could include lab-confirmed and influenza-like illness hospitalizations. Well, influenza-like illness, it does not have to be influenza, type A or type B influenza. This is just not substantive information to back up the assertion by our federal health agencies that we have an H1N1 swine flu pandemic that is causing widespread sickness and death. And if they simply haven't done the job of making it clear on their website, they need to do that. And I think they need to do more than that. I think they need to come clean with the 1,000 cases that were announced on Saturday. Be transparent, as President Obama has said his administration was going to be marked by transparency, and give evidence that those 1,000 deaths were H1N1 laboratory confirmed.
I absolutely agree. And there's another major point here. One is this whole question of whether or not these are really H1N1 deaths at all. I mean, there's an incredible suspicion that this is absolutely not the case. But then again, it's the whole announcement that occurred over the weekend. Why did this announcement occur over the weekend? Because what did it legally happen over the weekend, or have we been under this declaration for months now, and most people didn't know it? Because now you can correct me on some of the details, but I believe that this occurred in the early summer, and the Secretary has actually renewed this declaration twice, once on July 24th and the second on October 1st. Now, these declarations are designed by law to protect the public, but they also expire and they have to be renewed. That's why it has been renewed twice. But the last time it was renewed was October 1st. There was no renewal that occurred over the weekend. There was just an announcement. It didn't happen. It had occurred weeks earlier. So it appears that it's just a massive PR campaign, and I'll let you respond to that, and then I'll tell you my suspicions as to why this was released over the weekend.